Woo! All right, ladies and gentlemen, I had to come out of the spirit realm. Was trapped there for a moment, talking to my father in heaven. Listen, all right, start a Bigfoot weekend. Just so y'all know, I'm serious. The way my house is arranged. I when I'm not really plugging away at it, I kind of got like a computer off in a corner, and I'm just chilling. But when I move the desk in front of the TV and the living room and occupy all the space that's supposed to be family space, then everybody know, oh no, it's going down out here in these streets. So we're gonna have a conversation right now about funding research, and we're gonna have a series of live stream call-in shows this weekend. We have a series of interviews. It's a lot going down this weekend. I got some stories I got to record when I get off here, but I want to talk about this two aspects of the Bigfoot Dogman cryptid community that are a problem, and I want you guys to give me your opinions on them, and I want you to give me your insight on it. All right. um and this is a theme that I'll be returning to this theme throughout the whole weekend. So I have the pleasure of speaking with people that range from the smallest, upstart YouTuber. I mean, a guy who just started has got 300 subscribers, all the way up to people who've been on Travel Channel and National Geographic Channel and with shows, then to people who've been highlighted as guests on shows like, Terror in the Woods and all these different things. I have the privilege of talking to that vast scope of people, across the spectrum, people who have are on different levels. And the YouTube community here, and I really see it on YouTube only. I've looked, I only see this on YouTube. In this, in then chunking down even deeper. So, like, let's say, um, imagine a bucket, right? And inside this bucket is like these layers, like I don't know, better yet, is a layer cake, right? Um with horizontal layers. Like on the very first layer are people who are on YouTube, their personalities on YouTube. People like me who they either tell stories, they do interviews, they do these different things, right? Then that next layer is kind of people who they purely focus on just one thing. It may just be interviews, and they're just a specialist at this one thing. That bottom layer is kind of where the researchers are. And I don't mean that as an insult, but I mean it as, when you start talking about levels of influence, for some reason the researchers, who are the people who are in the field, Bigfoot Dogman researchers, they have trouble accumulating the kind of influence that they need. And when I often talk to them, uh, their main thing is, hey man, it's hard to fund my Bigfoot research. It's hard to fund my Dogman research. It's hard to get the money to go out into the field and do all these different things. And I want to have a conversation around that. And I'm going to share from my business experience some of the things that you can do. I'm going to try and show you some things. Before I unplugged my computer, I had all this stuff pulled up. I don't know if I'm able to pull all of it exactly up, but I'm going to just talk from my experience where I've consulted business owners on how to get their business started. The first thing for every researcher, and it's important that the audience hears this as well, because there has to be a shift in the understanding. There has to be a shift in the overall thought process of the cryptid community. Um, the overarching theme in our cryptid community is, if someone makes a profit doing something, or someone makes money doing something, it makes them less authentic. And that's a huge problem, because what it does is, the smartest people, the most intelligent people, the most skilled people will look at that environment and say, okay, I am considered to be bad because I know how to make a profit using my skills in this field. And they'll take those skills and they'll go somewhere else where those skills are rewarded. So, for example, if I was to go into the field of, I don't know, of teaching people how to start businesses on YouTube, or motivational speaking on YouTube, and then take what I've done in the cryptid field and took it over there It would be an entirely different response. It would be, hey, how did you do that? That's amazing. You got 100,000 subscribers. You got a website with this. You've done this. And it would be a completely different response from people in that field. They would look at it differently. So it's a mindset issue. How do I know? Because I've done a couple of interviews with people like that talking, and the questions are, hey man, I would love to have a YouTube channel with 50,000 subscribers. How do you do that? How do you do interviews where you can talk for an hour and captivate an audience? I want to learn how to do that, right? It's a different, it's a difference in the perspective of how people see things. Um, and if we don't change that perspective as a whole community, as a community as a whole, you're going to see this stagnation, and it's already setting in now. And it's that stagnation is going to affect everybody, because what ends up happening is you have to I don't know what this dude want. What ends up happening is people have to adjust to what's going on in that sphere of influence, or in that genre, right? So I'll give you a perfect example. And this is, when I talk about this, I'm not talking about this to be malicious with anybody. I really don't care. It was a great learning lesson for me. So when we talk about like a project like Dogman Cams, whose major intent was to fund researchers, and it did fund researchers to do research. The simple fact that that project wasn't seen as something that everybody should have got on board with for $4 a month to expand into all the areas, to where it should have funded a it should have funded the smallest of small field researchers to the biggest of big field researchers, because they would have been using their skills to go out into the woods and capture evidence. We know the project worked because we captured evidence. We also saw all kind of crazy crap on the project, but the overall mentality of the field wasn't one of, okay, I'm going to support this. And I mean across the board. I'm talking about content creator wise. I'm talking about audience wise. It just wasn't there. It was more so, all right, I'm gonna see if I can see what I can do to get something free. And then it was, oh, I'm gonna see what I can do to destroy it because I didn't come up with the idea. Um, and then there were other people who was like, oh, it's not my idea, I didn't come up with it, so I'm not gonna support it. Right. The problem with that is, every time something new comes into your environment and it's rejected in that manner, then you get less new innovative things. And so what happens is, across the board, you start to see things downtrend. And then it levels off where you get this mediocre level of content. Mediocrity sets in, and then it destroys the whole thing. So I don't want to see that happen. But at the same time, I'm not fin to pour money into something, into an environment that's not prepared for it. It's like planting seeds on hard, dry soil. It doesn't make any sense. But what I do want to do is kind of show people, what the hell just happened to my TV? Okay. I kind of want to show individually some of the guys who are going to pay attention. Some people will, some people won't, what they can do. All right. So let's start here. I don't care if you are if you're an audience member, if you are a YouTuber, if you are, somebody on Reddit. If you really want to do field research, and you really want to do research and money is the problem, then you have to preposition yourself on to where you fit a certain profile in order to get research funding. There is funding out there for research. And I had this conversation with Dr. Bill Hewitt. You'll hear it in about another hour. His interview will drop. There's a lot of funding out there that will allow you to get into the woods. I mean, there's a lot. You can't go out and say, hey, I want to do Bigfoot research, because they're going to be like, what the hell wrong with you? But you can go research endangered species of plants. You can do all kinds of things. The issue is, do you match the profile of someone that that should be receiving that funding? It's no different than someone who likes, the difference between someone who likes driving fast cars and saying they want to be a NASCAR driver. There's a leap there. And so you have to preposition yourself to where you are preposition yourself personally or build a team that meets that profile. Um, it's one of those things to where if you don't take the time to do it, you don't get where you want to get. So, for example, let's say me, Bree Harris, who's saying, I need to humble myself. Bree, you just did hear me pray for the whole crowd. But God bless you. May He bless your spirit. May He bless your soul. May He bless your finances. May He bless your family. May He bless your entire bloodline. So let's say Bree, Marlene, and Bird that's in the chat, right? Let's say all of us said that we wanted to be Bigfoot field researchers, right? And we wanted to get actual funding to do field research. That was our mission. All right, there's a couple of things that need to be in place. So we can't get up off our sofas if, for example, I'm a auto mechanic and Bree Harris is a electrical engineer and Marlene is a housewife, right? That profile doesn't meet what you need to go and seek out funding. So you're going to have to build a team around you that meets that profile. So you may need somebody who's a botanist that you're friends with. You may need someone that has extreme outdoor hiking experience, or someone who has outdoors experience. I mean, a next level outdoors experience where they've been out in the woods a whole lot, but not from a hunting perspective, someone who has it documented. You're going to have to build a team of people around you that meet a certain profile so you can go out and seek that funding. Now, most funding comes in forms of grants. And the way grants really work is everyone believes that you have to have a 501c3 to get a grant. Frankly, the way it really works is the people who have the 501c3s, which are the nonprofit organizations, they're the people who plugged in. So, for example, I sit on the board of Save One Now nonprofit. It's a nonprofit organization that that mentors kids in schools here in New Orleans. We're in, if I'm not mistaken, we're in like 6 public schools down here. It brings martial arts into those public schools, and the martial arts brings discipline into those schools. Every now and then, I get brought in to talk about social media and the effects of social media on a child's life, bada bing, bada boom. But the reason why that nonprofit is able to go into those schools and get that funding is because it's perfectly arranged and organized to get that. But here's the catch, and this is the most important thing for you to understand. That nonprofit sometimes has flow through funding. So, for example, let's say that particular nonprofit can't service every school. So let's say there's 100 schools and they can only service 10 schools. And let's just say it's 20 schools that's on the table. They can only service 10. They need partnerships with people who don't have to have a 501c3 to service the rest of those organizations. So, or the rest of that work. So the best way for you as a field researcher is to put together a team and find a way to how to be of service to an existing nonprofit, because it takes quite a bit of time for you to get a 501c3 designation as a nonprofit. But the way you move in is you say, okay, you guys need to be out in the field doing XYZ. You need to accomplish this goal. We can come in as our team and we can help you accomplish this goal. Now, the issue that you face is, excuse me, I swallowed a little bit of that smoke. The issue that you face is you need to actually be in line with their goals or whatever they have that they're trying to accomplish. And you bring an independent team in that works under them to help them achieve that specific goal. So let's say down here in New Orleans for quite a while, we had the invasive species of carp fish that were everywhere, right? And they had all these studies for carp fish. Out of the funding, that federal funding that came in to try and stop this invasive species of fish just taking over the swamp waterways, all kinds of money came out of that. There was funds that went to the Fish and Wildlife and Fish and Game, Fish and Wildlife Services to go out and do studies, and then there was stuff that went to biologists through them that were hired to go out and figure out how many they are, at what rapid pace are they reproducing, and so that biologist wasn't necessarily a member of didn't have a 501c3. They just had the skill set, and they just met the profile to access the funding. So if you following what I'm saying, and another thing that came out of that was, it was crazy because there was a chef. I mean, legit. I forgot the name of the company that he set up, but I was consulting this chef. There was a chef that found a way to take that fish, that carp fish, and debone it, because that's the issue with those fish. They have too many bones, so the meat is not really good. If they didn't have as many bones, it would be the greatest thing to ever happen to like the American waterways, because you could take those fish and eat them. But they got too many bones; they're hard to debone. But nonetheless, he came up with a process of actually deboning the fish, and we were working with a contract to get him to bring that same fish meat into all of your sports arenas. I forgot the name of the major company out of California that ran all the concessions of all your major sports arenas. That fell through. Bada bing, bada boom. Lost a little bit of money there, but nonetheless, it is what it is. The point I'm making is, for you as a researcher, a field researcher, you need to meet a profile, and then you need to meet a need, and then you will find success. You need to determine what the profile is that they want you to meet in order to work with them. And let's see if I can find something on that real quick and show it to you. Grants in U.S. Forestry, Florida Urban and Forestry grants. Urban. Let's look at this urban forestry, which urban forestry is probably building gardens. So this is public tree canopy improvements and planting, public tree inventory, and urban tree canopy assessment. There it is. Urban forestry management planning, urban forestry information and education. For example, and this is just, I just legit just looked this up. And this is how I'm thinking. When I look at what they have in Florida and I see the award categories, this is mean what they're awarding their grants on. First thing I know is public tree canopy improvement and tree planting. That's probably going to be in neighborhoods and in areas, but that is something that I would definitely look into. This category is provided for the purchase and installation of community trees on public right-of-way and in parks and in public spaces. When I read that, that's not going to work, because we need to be outside of public parks and public spaces, right? This category is provided for communities to develop or enhance inventories, assessments of public trees. Up-to-date inventories can assist. That's for trees in the neighborhood. This category is provided to provide public more awareness. Here it is: urban forestry information and education. This is a very perfect space where someone could actually possibly fall in and do this, because man, this dude keep texting me. This is a space where you can possibly fall in, because this is an educational space. So I can put together a team, and you see it says projects such as hosting workshops, printing brochures, developing interpretive signage, but hosting workshops. That's an area where I could possibly fit in. If I can hold some kind of workshop and bring people out into the field, that's an area where I can fit in. It may not be an area that gets me directly out into the field immediately, where it's like, okay, here's a check, go out in the field. But if I can host a workshop, and I know a hell of a lot about trees, and I have a botanist on my team, and we can charge them $2,500 to host a workshop, then we can fund our field research. But it's coming from federal funds. Let's see. See, this is all urban, and so that's going to be all city oriented. Urban forestry service federal grants. Cost share grant portal. Federal agencies, dollars, technique, blah, blah, blah. But it's a change in mindset that community forestry and open space program. Here it is. Perfect one. Southwest Forest Help in fire prevention. Let's see what they're talking about. Active. Where is it? Direct payments for specific specified use. One, Institute, State of Arizona, Northwestern Arizona, Mexico. Where's their requirements? All right, so this is for a nonprofit because you see they're doing their audit procedures. So if it's me, I'm calling this number right here. Like for real. And I don't want to be a field researcher, but I'm just telling you how I would do it. I would call this number right here and I would say, hey, it's my understanding that you guys have this specific grant. Is that grant open to is it only open to nonprofits? How do I get involved? This is what we do, blah, 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 blah. And you're going to get a piece of information. They may say, well, no, those are funds that go directly to the state of Arizona, and the state of Arizona disperses them out of this office. I would call that office. Hey, I'm trying to work with you guys on whatever this program is, bada bing, bada boom. They're going to say, yeah, those are awarded to nonprofits, and it goes through nonprofits. That's when I would say, which nonprofit won it last year? And then I would engage that nonprofit, but I'm looking to offer my services to them. Now, the one thing you need to understand about this game of accessing federal funds, you can't be flaky at all as you do these things. Like you need to be on your game because it's a vicious world of it's really a cloak and dagger world, honestly, when you're dealing with it because people play money games. And so you need to be on top of your game if you're going in to do business with them. Contractually, you need to be on top of your game. If I'm going out into the field, there's a 30% up front, 30% when I'm halfway through, and 30% when I'm done. You need to be contractually on your game when you're engaging these nonprofits. And you also need to understand that a lot of nonprofits are ways that money's funneled into communities. So sometimes you may get discouraged because when you go into the door, they've already chosen who they're going to deal with. And that's okay. That's fine. Don't trip out. You just late to the game and you don't know how to play the game. You go through the process of actually learning how to play the game. What's up, King Perez? What's happening with you, Playboy? You go through the process. You go through the process of learning how to play this game, and you will find yourself in rooms with people where you will be doing deals with them to where you can actually go out into the field. But it's not something that just comes easily, but the money's there. So when we hear people saying in this field, oh, I want to do field research, but the money's not there to do the field research. No, the knowledge base is not there for you to do it. And this is the thing. There literally is no excuse for you not having the knowledge base to be successful at it because every form of knowledge is out there. For example, let's talk about what I just said. I talked about the fact that you may need to have a nonprofit, but watch this, YouTube. And this is where people being lazy comes in, and it kind of pisses me off because you rather destroy something that somebody else is building than build something yourself. But watch this. All right. Nonprofit. How to start. There it is. You can consume all that content. Get out the field, start consuming content and learning. Watch this. Federal grants. Federal DERAL. No, I don't spell what the damn federal forestry. For RESTI grants. Oh, 2 months ago, somebody just passed through $320 million grant for the USDA. So it's a matter of actually educating yourself. Watch this. How to write a grant proposal. How to write a grant proposal. 7 steps to writing a grant proposal. How to work with a nonprofit. Three things I wish I knew before working for a nonprofit. The whole point I'm making is this to our entire community: everything that you need is there. It's just the knowledge of um, where you need to go, and putting the pieces to the puzzle together is what's missing. So if you don't have the money to go out and fund your research, then you need to figure out what kind of team you can put together. Now, here's the insane thing. I mean, this legit is the really, really insane thing. So let's take somebody who I know, who has a very solid background. Let's take Nick Valente, right? Nick has a very, very solid background. Um, he already has a team of guys. They go out and they investigate cryptids, right? You got ex-military guys on the team. In the case of a Nick Valente, legit, all Nick Valente needs to bring into his organization probably is a botanist or somebody who's got experience dealing with plants and soil types or whatever it is. He needs to bring an additional piece into his team in order to go pursue things. Now, when you present it, you can't present it like, we the guys that's running out here doing, Bigfoot research, blah, 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 blah. You may have to even put up a website that points in the right direction when people start doing research on you. There's a couple of things you may have to do to mask what people might find to be weird and crazy stuff. But nonetheless, you can work your way around that. The issue really is, what do you need to add? Because most researchers have, pretty decent teams. What do you need to add to your team in order to make you fit a profile that allows you to work for somebody, allows you to go get the funding? And that's the truth of the matter. So there's this myth that it's not possible. There's this myth that, I can't get funding to do what I want to do. No, it's just a knowledge-based issue. And my hope is that as people start to really focus and hunker down and start doing their research and start digging into the ways that they can accomplish their goals, it'll change the entire mindset of the community, because the community itself is nothing more than a group of people that have come together because they like a certain topic. But it's the talking points that go out into the community that get into people's heads that the audiences then in turn reinforce in other areas, right? So talking point of, oh, this person is all about the money. And then it reinforces it, and then it's used as an attack where it's like anybody who does anything is all about the money. Or talking point of, I did an interview, you guys here interview this weekend with a cool dude, but me and him went back and forth because he was like, well, anybody who makes money off of Bigfoot on a high level, we were talking about TV shows, and he was saying that anybody who makes money off Bigfoot from a TV show, they're not doing anything for the community. And I told him, I said, hold on, bro. I said, you got 100,000 subscribers. I know how much money you make. Are you doing what you demand that man to do? And he said, no. And I said, no, it's just, I said, so what's the issue? The issue is he's making more money. And it turned out the issue was that guy was making a little bit more money. I said, well, that's your fault. That man, you can make whatever that man make. But it's this mentality that we have in this field. It's a mentality of lack, and it's a mentality of, I don't know, I wouldn't call it jealousy, but it's insane that if you just focus on solving the problem that's in front of you, you will be wildly successful. And it's easily can be done. I mean, it's so simple. You just have to know the road that you need to walk down. So for you field researchers, for you aspiring field researchers, for the people who are in the audience that want to actually do research, but like, I don't have no money to get out there and do it, find somebody that you can work for that's going to pay you to be in the woods. It's that easy. And there's plenty of programs, plenty of people out there that will pay you to be out in the woods. You out in the woods doing that job, but you're out in the woods also doing other stuff as well. It'll be easier for you if you're doing a cataloging registry type job where, you're stumbling around looking for stuff. And then you can go on about your business. But nonetheless, you're going to fund that research. And it's better if there's symmetry, where it's, okay, not only am I doing my research, but I'm doing my job as well. Now, you may not be able to walk around there with a camera and live stream because that wouldn't be cool to do on the job, but you could definitely record some stuff and put it up later and edit it and do whatever you need to do with it. So I wanted to bring that to everybody's attention at the start of Bigfoot weekend, because I'm going to be hammering this throughout the entire Bigfoot weekend. That is the one thing that has to change, community wide, when we talk about the cryptid community. I remember um, Linda Godfrey. She was going on she, Linda's been on all kind of shows, right? So she and I are talking one day, and I call Linda because I got a TV show offer. And I'm like, Linda, sweetheart. She's like, what's going on, James? I said, well, how much do they typically pay you to be on a TV show? And she says, they'll pay a couple of $100 here or there, to be on a TV show. I'm like, well, what's the max? She's like, oh, don't expect more than $700-800. And I said, okay. And she's like, why? I said, well, the show wants me on their show. I said, they're offering like $300. They're offering to fly me out there. And I've already told them that I'm not leaving my house for less than $2,000. She's like, I can't believe you told them that. I said, why would I leave my house for less than $2,000? I said, I need that $2,000 before I get on the plane. I said, they can cash app it to me, they can wire it to me, they can do whatever they want to do, but I need it before I get on the plane, and I'll come fulfill my obligation. And so what I found very interesting was, as she started talking about what the people that you see in the cryptid community, like the people that you really look up to. I mean, guys that you like, man, this guy's been on 10, 12 TV shows. He's been on this. And when she started talking about what those people were getting paid to do that, and when you know the back end on what the production house is making, as a whole, we've kind of been this bucket of talent that's been exploited. And the reason why we've been a bucket of talent that has been exploited, I can personally say I ain't never been exploited. I mean, I don't play that. Like, you're going to pay me and it is what it is. You don't want to do it, great. Go, somebody else could do it. But we've kind of been a bucket of talent that's been exploited because people will come in and grab your expertise. So, for example, let's take a Lon Strickler, bloop. Let's take a Vic Cundiff, bloop. And everybody, and people can say what they want to say about Vic. Me and him had our differences, but Vic knows his shit, and Vic, it's got a name, right? Let's take a Vic Cundiff, bloop. And let's take a Carry On, or rest in peace, bloop. Between those three people, there's massive amounts of knowledge on cryptids. There's no way that somebody should be able to come and say, okay, Lon, we're going to pay you $100, $200 to come be on our TV show. Okay, Vic, we're going to give you $300. Okay, Carrie, we're going to give you $250 to be on an entire TV show that they're going to make millions of dollars off of. And so why are they able to do that? Why is that possible? I'll tell you why it's possible. It's because we don't actually understand the value that we bring to the table when we go into those environments. And the second reason why it's possible is because as an entire community, we have not coalesced to where we can put up a unified front to show them, hey, there's value in this. There's significant value in these people. So and I'll go back, and I said this about Tony Merkel's Expedition Dogman. So Tony Merkel's Expedition Dogman had 10 million views. When somebody came to Tony Merkel to be on a TV show, Tony Merkel's price is out the roof. You can't give Tony Merkel $200. If Linda Godfrey sold every book that Linda Godfrey had come out, was a #1 bestseller, and she sold 15,000 copies, then guess what? You can't pay Linda Godfrey $200, $300. There's no way on the planet. So, and that kind of power, because we're talking about power here for the whole entire field. And I'm going to make sure you as the audience understand how it relates to you. This is how a community really works. This is how do I say this? This is how spheres of power and influence really work when they function to where they're supposed to. When you gel behind and coalesce behind a person and push that person up front, and that person's a good person, and you got to be careful, because some people, you push them out there and they're just bad people. But there's ways to deal with that as well. When you gel and coalesce behind a person or a group, I don't care which one it is. I was looking forward to Carrie and Mark doing their thing and trying my best to push them. And and they get out front and they really get out there, they kick the door in, and it's their job to kind of keep their butt, one of them to keep their butt in the door and keep the door open and just start ushering people in. And if you do it the right way, you go from being, hey, those are just the weird people who talk about Dogman and Bigfoot who fight amongst each other and talk about each other and do all this. You go from being that group of people to the group of people that producers come to and say, all right, I need to partner with you. Not I want to pay you $200. Hey, I need to partner with you because this is how much value you bring to the table. And that's the change that we have to make. But it has to be a change via the knowledge of understanding of the leverage that the whole entire community has. The mentality has to change in order for it to grow. And if that does not happen, you're going to see the rapid decline of all of this. You already see where it's kind of tapering off and it's going to the point to where it's like, okay, people just putting out every little thing they can put out to monetize. And you see the integrity already falling off of it. And that's cool if that's what people want. I'm just offering another solution to the problem. Because the solution at the base of every problem in this field is the actual monetization. I mean, it really, really is. For the field researchers who are really good at field researching, they had more money, they would be super good. For the field researchers who's starting to get out there, if they had more money, they can get more evidence. For the guy that's kind of in the middle, if they had more money, they can really accomplish some things to move up a level. A lot of the arguments and fights that happen in this community amongst creators really boils down to monetization. It's the person who does a show once a week, twice a week, that doesn't understand why they're not growing, like the person who does shows 7 times a week, downloads, drops content 8 times a day. And it's really a mentality issue. And so what it does is it leads to tribalism. That tribalism leads to people arguing and fighting. That arguing and fighting leads to division, and it leads to these little fiefdoms of people who, instead of actually getting on in the arena and fighting in the battlefield, they kind of stay in the stands and talk trash. Like we just had one in here, Bree, earlier, saying I need to humble myself. But like I said, God bless him. The Lord humbled me, and He continues to humble me. And so I want to encourage. I want to encourage everybody at the onset of this, when the call-in shows come up and I start asking questions about, how people perceive this from an audience standpoint. How do you perceive it? Do you perceive it as someone who's trying to make money off the Bigfoot? Because we had a conversation. You guys understand, we went hardcore in these conversations, because I even in the interviews, even one guy was like, well, Bigfoot is your God. Because, like, legit, that's his God. He attributes everything he has, everything he does to Bigfoot. I'm like, well, okay, that's your God then. And it's these different mentalities that you see as this tug of war in the community, but it plays out publicly. And I want to talk about it. All right. Outside of that, I got some fire stories coming your way. We got a book that's releasing, but I found like something real bad misspelling that book, so I had to re-upload it to the server. And once it's re-uploaded there, I'm downloading again and putting it on the website. Today, I'm going to get with my producer, Wes. He's going to have the assignment of making sure that everybody has access to the website. People who keep falling off and whoop the woo, because that's just crazy. I don't even understand that. Like, you fix an error and the error comes back. It's insane. But if you remember, when I get off this stream, I'm just uploading content there. So get in there. If you can't get in there, just be patient. I got a list right here in front of me. Everybody who needs to get in, we're going to handle that. And I'm hoping you guys enjoy the Bigfoot weekend. I really do hope you enjoy the Bigfoot weekend. We have some phenomenal guests. I'll tell you, my favorite interview was Pat Spain from the National Geographic channel. Pat really is a cool dude. I probably started with him because it was real cool. Just a guy. It's indicative. He's indicative of what happens when you have the right pieces of the puzzle and you're passionate about what you're doing. The result that he got is the result that I'm pretty sure, whether people want to acknowledge it or not, that's the result that everybody who's in the field doing research wants. And he laid out how he got that result. That's why I'm going to start the Bigfoot weekend with that. It's just, this weekend is just not about stories. This is about addressing some other stuff that's going on in our community to try and make it better. because nobody else does it. And I'm not saying I'm the perfect person to do it, but I am going to do it. So it is what it is. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Anything you want to ask me before I get off of here and get to work on these other things? It's quite a bit to do. Nope, no questions. All right. We are out of here. Marlene, what's up, my lady? I hope you're doing good.